Good morning once again. Welcome back to this special broadcast ahead of the budget speech. We're coming to you live from the parliamentary precinct where Finance Minister Nhlanhla will be delivering that all-important and much-anticipated budget speech. Now, before 1994, or at least let's start from this. In 2004, we experienced a bit of a hiccup as taxpayers, but by and large, I think South Africans have enjoyed substantial tax relief since about 1995. But my friend, that may come to an end today when Finance Minister Nhlanhla makes that announcement. As Minister Nene detailed in his medium budget term speech, you'll remember that was in October, that he is looking to find taxes of about, listen to this, 12 billion rand. And where do you think that's going to come from? It might come from you and I. And if you think you're going to drown your sorrows, it may cost you even more if the sin taxes go up. So think twice about that. I continue my discussion with some of our panelists. I'm joined by Keith Engel. He's the Deputy CEO in the Institute of Tax Professionals. Matthew Parks is from the Cosatu Parliamentary Office. And we're also joined by Bongani Mbindwane. He's a businessman and a mining analyst. Let me begin with you, Keith. We have some sort of analysts saying that they will see an increase in wealth taxes or among the wealthy, the capital gains tax being thrown about. What do you make of that? Do you think that will somehow disencourage or take away from South Africans who are trying to invest in property or other assets?
Look, whenever you tax something, it's going to cost. And that's going to deter something. So there'll always be some deterrence somewhere. But the discussion really is coming down to how do you share this between the rich and the poor? So on the poor side or the middle class side, and what you referred to is personal income tax. When you're talking on the rich side, there's an element of solidarity that's being discussed. So the estate duty has been mentioned a few times. Capital gains tax, I'm doubtful on because they just increased it a little bit ago. And that was very, very contentious. But yes, if you're going to tax savings, you're going to discourage it some. But it doesn't have as much as effect as people think.
Let's talk a little bit more about labour now. We've heard some interesting developments there. We have the like of the minimum wage that's been thrown about in the build-up to the budget speech and has been up for discussion for a while. There's also that 50-50 ownership when it comes to agricultural land, some empowerment schemes regarding that. There are also possible income tax increase, though. That's going to hit people. What do you say about that as Labour?
We would reject any income tax increase for the poor and the middle classes. You can't squeeze a rock anymore. People are struggling to make ends meet. If there's going to be tax increases, let it be upon the wealthy, upon businesses which can afford it. But also, there's also room within government that you can cut some of the fat. You can cut the bling culture that's come to characterize much of government expenditure. You can reprioritize. But also look, South Africa is one of the most unequal societies in the world. And that's why we're supporting militantly a national minimum wage. People are living on average about 2,500 rand a month, average black male worker. Yet he supports a family of 8 to 10 people, which is physically impossible to sustain. If you have a national minimum wage, a living national minimum wage, for example, it's been shown in Brazil how that helps to stimulate economic growth, how it helps to spread income throughout the society. I think we'd also be opposed, Ayanda, to adding more taxes through the back door. Like with e-tolling we've seen in Gauteng. We've seen yesterday that Johannesburg City is going to increase electricity tariffs at peak hours. Who is that going to hit? It's going to hit the poor. It's just unaffordable. We've seen massive electricity increase over the past 10 years from an average per house of 200 rand to 2,000 rand. We can't just keep taxing the poor forever and ever. We need to do much more smarter, solidarity-based income taxes.
And of course, when we talk about your middle income earners in South Africa, they're among the most indebted that we know in the country. Taking a look at mining, which is your area of speciality, we saw in the protests, the protracted ones especially, that it really hit hard, and some of the miners had to go to loan sharks to try and live, and many South Africans living from hand to mouth, and as I joked a little bit earlier, robbing Peter to pay Paul, living on loans. How do you propose that perhaps the minister should deal with that?
I mean, Ayanda, you have to understand that the very issue of Marikana started as a result of people being heavily indebted. People who are heavily indebted because of wage strains then go to loan sharks. But whilst they're still on your strikes, they still go to loan sharks again. So you've got a double whammy there. So there has to be a concerted effort to assist people to get out of the stranglehold on this payday loan system that we have. So if we can see the minister announcing some very carefully articulated regulations around the area of that shadow banking, it will be very useful for the industry. Again, I doubt that the minister will increase the pay-as-you-earn and the like taxes or touch VAT, because we know the World Bank came out last year and said we still have a very progressive tax system in South Africa. Again, you also have the Davis committee that is looking at tax. You don't want to come in and mess with that. I'm sure that he did consult with them, but at this point, I doubt that they will touch the income taxes.
And we're going to see just how much the Davis Tax Committee and the recommendations thereof will feature in this budget speech. We'll talk about that. And of course, remember that rating agencies will be watching the developments today, and any further downgrade could chuck us into junk status. We don't want that. That discussion coming up after the short break. Stay with us.